Hello, welcome, welcome. I'm in here today because my lamp has finally arrived that I've been talking about, and Quinn is out there installing it. And so I thought, well, I'll just come in here today and we'll have a surprise. Hopefully, everything will be working next week, and I'll be back out in my studio. So I'm in here, and Michelle and Darlene and I were in a workshop all weekend, and it was my first in-person workshop in 6 months, and I was very pleased how we all did. We had a really wonderful time. And for our purposes, one of the things that I experienced is that expressing is so balancing. And I think an emphasis for all of us on expressing right now is really important because there's so much coming at us that the receiving is way overloaded. And so what I found was that by Sunday, I felt completely re-energized. I thought I'd be exhausted, and I was completely re-energized by really focusing on letting expression through me. So that's one of the things I wanted to suggest for all of you, particularly over this next period of time, where we're in so many different transitions, is to put your emphasis on, what's wanting to be expressed, appreciations, letting people know what you want, all of those kinds of, and how can I turn this into creative expression? And when I was thinking about loop of awareness, it occurred to me that focusing on the fundamentals would be a really great thing for this week of what's the rhythm of your. So I want to just go ahead and have you start shifting your attention, and I'm going to add in the things that have been most valuable for me to have that flow really support me. So as you're notice the quality of the yours. Like mine feels just a little sluggish right now. It's kind of a little whoa and whoa. And so just notice what the rhythm is, and whether it feels light or maybe more heavy, and let yourself just play with the pace of shifting your attention. And what I one of the rhythms that I like to do is to shift and land and then breathe, and then shift and land and then breathe. So if I'm shifting out, what is it that I want to land on? So I might land on the space between the leaves and the trees out there, and then breathe. And when I'm breathing, I'm also sort of breathing my attention out there and then back into me, letting it shifting and then landing and then breathing. So when I landed this time, I landed between my shoulder blades, and then I let my breath come into that area. So letting yourself play with shifting and landing and then taking a breath, shifting, landing, and taking a breath. And as I'm doing that, I notice that my body wants to slow down. So I can feel the rhythm slowing because there's a lot of adrenaline moving right now. And so if you're slowing your breath, that what I find is that my landing then spreads out. So rather than the narrowing of fear or speeding up, when I land and breathe, it's like the pebble in the pond that my breath spreads out in my body. So I love the having a simple ritual for your starting your practice of loop of awareness. And then what I find is that I'm able to call on that during the day. Like if I'm out in the world, so that I'm not, my attention is just not scattered, to have that looping, landing, and breathing allows me to include myself, but it also allows me to include the environment, to be situationally aware. So let yourself notice what's the pace that allows you to have that sense of including you and then including your environment and including you. And it's also getting the getting the flow of your attention going. And it's a good thing to do if you get stuck or something unexpected happens, which happens about 20,000 times a day, that you, if you return to your, okay, I got all jangled. And so looping, landing, and breathing for me is also orienting. So I can go, okay, here I am, and I can create an awareness of choice, because I'm finding this is a very ripe time for upper limit things, bumping into things. Michelle was sharing that she cracked a tooth this weekend. So there, and I have a little boo-boo on my thumb, so I was looking at this morning, I went, what? Oh, I have a little bruise on my thumb. So where did that come from? And I remembered, well, I'm lifting a lot of things and carrying a lot of things this week and going back and forth. And so may all your upper limits be little boo-boos rather than big. So looping and landing and breathing, just even doing that little bit, I feel this, in myself and centering, but also available. And what I also get is when I'm doing this is because I've been, sharing, all of this expression over the week. So giving attention to me today. So putting an emphasis on looping and landing and breathing for me. And so notice what where you're feeling called to put your attention. Is it more out here? Because you may have, spent the weekend or, yesterday being, more focusing on you. So it'll allow you to rebalance very quickly. And the other thing I was thinking about is I love the word welcome, and I love welcoming. And so if you add that into your loop of awareness, that your intention is welcoming. So you're looping and landing and then welcoming. So you could be looping and landing and breathing, or looping and landing and welcoming, or welcoming, breathing. But I find that the welcoming creates a different, the verb of welcoming just feels just so much more, including. And it's actually, I think, it's a verbal love scoop. I think of welcoming as, oh yes, so however you are right now, just take a moment to welcome that with your attention. Like, I'm a little phlegmy this morning, and I'm just grateful that I can speak after, after 3 days of lots and lots of expressing. So, rather than turning critical on yourself, like, what's the matter with you? That whole welcoming, this is how it is. So looping and landing. And do you let yourself land? Because we're in this sort of a bounce off time where it kind of your attention is going. So when you loop and land, I think of it as a little gentle rebounder inside myself. So I'm looping and landing, and having that sense of ah, ah. So that's what I wanted to share with you for Loop of Awareness this morning. And I was looking through the cards, and it went, no, no, no. And I wanted to do the collages this time rather than the directions. And this was the one that landed for me. So I'd love for you to let your loop and land, and then breathe into what's, oh, I've got my cat wants to get in. I'll be right back. You can continue looping and landing. There you go, girl. Come on in. So looping into it and landing, and then looping and landing and breathing into you. And there's just something about this collage that, and I think it's the colors and the gold and the drops. And so you can probably imagine what this one is going to say. I'm willing to give drops of love anywhere I need or want them. And I love also the delicacy and the attention that I'm giving Oh, and I just really noticed what's going on there in the bottom of the collage. And I love the interaction between the person and the pooch, and drops of love. And don't you experience that? Those of you who have animal companions, they provide drops of love all the time, and so we can give that to ourselves. So as you're looping and landing, add a drop of love. So loop and land and add a drop of love. And often we think, oh, it's just too much, or oh, I just don't have time. But a drop of love, there was always time for a drop of love. So I invite you to notice, like for me, there's just still just a little bit of gritchiness in my neck from my vertigo. So I'm giving a little drop of love just right up, right behind my ears, and then noticing how that wants to move through me. So looping and landing in drops of love wherever you want them or need them. And then let yourself give drops of love to people that you know or people you don't know, where you'd like to add love to the situation. You can add drops of love with your intention, with your looping. I have found that my looping is not limited by in person. And I think you'll find that you can send your love, send your drops of love across the globe, as well as next door. So let yourself play with looping, landing, and adding a drop of love. And then noticing how that percolates, because alchemical processes often just need a drop to change everything. So just notice what happens when you add the drop of love. So now I'm going to pull up our Presence Connect play. And I also want to share with you that we had so much fun with Presence Connect play this weekend, and playing with using that as our transformational tools. And so part of my intention when I do Presence Connect play for the week, I combine those and then I use those as my menu. So if I'm wanting to create something or I'm wanting to interact with someone, I use Presence Connect play, rather than working on it or thinking about it. I'm opening up new space by entering into a new way of presencing, a new way of connecting, and a new way of playing. So this presence one that comes up for today says, take 3 breaths and change your body posture. And that actually is backed by research that it's actually more effective than medication to change your state. So let yourself go ahead and try that on, of taking 3 relaxed, connected breaths. And I like to do them in and out through my nose, because that's the pace at which your body wants to receive. So rather than, any fancy stuff of breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth, just 3 relaxed, connected breaths. And then change your physical position, because when we're stuck, our bodies are stuck. And so one of the quickest ways to just really shift into flow is changing your body position. And it doesn't have to be a big deal. You don't have to do calisthenics or, jumping jacks, or, you just change your body position. So it can be, changing your shoulders or opening your chest. Somebody at the workshop was asking me, how she could provide a safe space for her daughter, some of the things that was going on for her daughter. And I noticed as she was telling me that she was sort of slightly turned away from me. And so I said, well, if you let yourself just turn toward, that's, her body was closed. And I said, just opening your body, just opening your chest. So let yourself notice, what's the smallest thing I could do to change my posture? So it could be just rolling your shoulders, or it could be shifting on your sits bones so that you feel them, or bouncing your feet where you are right now. That's a shift that you will register through your whole body. So, and the combination of those is a great way also to deal with a spike of fear that you have for whatever reason. So that one is a beautiful way of grounding yourself. And of course, I'm looking down at Connect, and Connect says, receive communication with open posture and breath. Isn't it great how they're supporting each other? And I didn't make this happen. I want you to know that, our synchronicity created that. So the open posture and breath also lets the other person know that you're available. And that's at a deep body level. And that also you're a safe space for them to open up. So if you're saying, how are you doing? But your body is closed, you give that mixed signal that people pick up on. So if you open your posture, that in itself is welcoming and invites connection and also creates safety for both of you. And people won't connect or feel that shift if they're not experiencing that sense of safety. So you can ripple safety out as you're creating it for yourself as well. Oh, and then play is bodify your experience for a moment before speaking. And I love this one because it's basically letting your body speak before your mouth does. Because very often our mouths get out there ahead of our bodies. And so if you're giving attention to yourself, someone asks you something or makes a request or just says something, very often we respond to that by freezing. So I want to make sure I'm getting it right. So kind of freeze and grip and kind of move forward a little bit. So if you're hearing it and you let your body just respond, like, and then let yourself speak. I have found that my communication is much more matching, and also including myself in the conversation so that I have something to actually offer. So I'm filling my own reservoir before I go, oh, well, what you ought to do. Yeah. And because very often the person doesn't want to get fixed, they want the communication that comes from your being with them. So letting your body speak lets your body speak directly to them. And so the words are, I mean, they're helpful, but they don't really matter if you've already let your body speak and you're opening up to the mirror neurons communicating with each other and having that sense of here we are together, and then the words are an extra on top of that rather than having to carry everything. And you get to present yourself regardless of who is speaking. So I like this combination. So you might want to jot that down so that you can let yourself practice during the week. You can practice that combo. And anytime you're doing Presence Connect Play, give yourself a chance to do all three of those and then see what happens in your interactions. It's not as if you have to practice it in the moment, but if you've given yourself some practice during the day, your body is going to communicate more fully, and you're going to receive much more of the nourishment of communication from opening yourself in those three ways. So I'm feeling happy that that came up today. And also I want to remind you that we have this very rich website that backs up Presence Connect Play. And when I go in there, I go, oh, wow, look at that. Look at what we've done. It's very robust. And so there's a lot of support for you for growing your ability to do Presence Connect Play. All right. So that's us for today, and really appreciate you all being here. It's great to see folks I haven't seen for a while. Hi, Raphael. Lovely to see you, and Elizabeth. And yeah, so please stay. And of course, all my regulars, Kathy, I'm, you know, you get you get a big button, big for 5 years of active participation.
It fills my heart.
Oh, well, you fill my heart and all of you. This is such a gift to all of us. And I so appreciate you showing up so that we can fill each other's reservoirs, and then off we go into the week to have discovery. So please stay and share as much as you like, and I'll look forward to seeing you, hopefully in my studio next week. And
Yay.
yeah, so on we go. So have a
Come
wonderful
come
week.
join us sometime.
Yes, and today I'm moving on to take care of stuff around here. So stay as long as you like, and until next time. All right, take care.